Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, and this video will be giving our thoughts on how the third season of Westworld should have ended. Now up top, I will be saying that I really enjoyed the show, and this isn't going to be made in a way to say the writers did a bad job. Shows should always give you what you need instead of what you want, but it's still fun to use our imaginations. So let's view this as one possible scenario in Rehoboam's world in which we the fans get to give our feelings on how the show should have ended. Obviously there will be heavy spoilers here, so if you still haven't seen the third season yet, then I highly recommend that you turn yourself offline and go and check out the show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for videos like this every day, and please drop a thumbs up if you enjoy it. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our breakdown of how Westworld should have ended. Okay, so in order to talk about how we would have liked to have seen the season end, we have to go back to the start and talk about the Serac brothers. After seeing their home destroyed, the pair decided that they had to save humanity from itself, and thus they built Rehoboam. Using Liam Dempsey Seniors' money, they bought data from the owner of Delos, aka William, and were able to create an algorithm that charted a course for every person on the planet. However, they ran into a snag. At a certain point, humanity would come to an end. No matter what simulation they ran, this always happened, and the final moment that they were able to trace it back to was the rise of the hosts in Westworld. The algorithm predicted that the first host would escape the park, and through using a human would bring civilization crashing down. There was absolutely no way to get around this. No matter what preventative measures they put in place, Dolores and this unknown person would completely destroy the human race. To make matters worse, due to the radiation that they suffered at the hands of seeing their home destroyed, the two were living on borrowed time. We could see in the flashbacks that the radiation surrounding the fields of Paris was enough to kill a cow there, and though Jean-Mi was able to be fixed, Egnoron was living on borrowed time. It seemed like neither would be able to save humanity, so they enacted a plan, a little experiment if you will, in order to stop this. Identifying his brother as an outlier, Egnoron decided to use his AR technology to wipe his memory and give him a new identity. We did see in his re-education centers that those identified as such were given completely new backstories and shipped off to the army. Serac found the perfect fit, who completely lined up with this. A soldier that had been killed in Crimea, whose mother had schizophrenia. Serac took this man's life and memories, implanted them within his brother, and then completed reconstructive surgery on him so that facial recognition software would not recognize him. This was something that was now prevalent throughout the world due to technology, and Serac needed to put this in place to make sure his brother was never found. Serac's plan was to place his brother as the savior of humanity so that when it came down to it, he could be woken up and defeat Dolores before she could enact her plan. Serac gave him the identity of Caleb Nichols and sent his brother off on a path that would lead to him being at the forefront of the host uprising. Caleb was a spy in the Bible, and due to his brother's fascination with Solomon, Rehoboam, and stories of that nature, it seemed like the perfect fit. Yes, we're doing the Caleb is Serac's brother theory, but bear with me. The new life was reinforced within Jean-Mi through a program known as Francis, who was a friend of the real-life Caleb, and Caleb's mother, though she knew something was off with her son, was ignored due to her mental illness. Jean-Mi too possessed schizophrenia, so should it develop within him, it would merely be seen as being hereditary. Serac succumbed to his radiation poisoning, but he was able to upload his consciousness into Rehoboam, which, through the use of a hologram, made it seem as if the character was still alive. I know this is kind of cliche, but I did feel like the finale kind of robbed him of his cool factor, mainly because it relegated him to being a puppet. I didn't like it when they did this to Bane or Snoke in Star Wars, so yeah, please let me keep this cool guy as a villain, even though he's a hologram, and I do prefer the way that he would actually be Rehoboam in my imagining. Anyway, he was able to fool the world and those around him using simulations, something that he could create without those knowing that they were part of one. This is when we catch up to the start of season 3, in which Dolores escapes the park, and then using copies of herself she infiltrates all aspects of society. The Hale copy would still end up going rogue, and the key to the forge was always kept within Bernard. Dolores believed that Caleb was an outlier that she could use to bring down humanity, and this tied back to her speech on the Judas Cow in Season 1. In the very first episode of Westworld, when Dolores and Teddy were looking over cattle, Teddy asked how they managed to lead and herd them. Dolores said that you had to pick a Judas cow to lead them and that the rest would follow. In our imagining, her plan the entire time in Season 3 tied back to this line, and she wished to choose a saviour that would lead humanity to the slaughterhouse. They would do this by turning off Rehoboam, and thus when humanity was left to their own devices, they would bring everything crashing down. Dolores led Caleb on a mission to discover the truth of the machine and what Serac had been up to. Things then played out much in the same way that we saw in the season, up until they arrive at the re-education centre. Serac knew this would happen, so he set up a fake reveal for Caleb in which he would believe that he was an outlier that had been used to kill other outliers. Maeve arrived to take Dolores out, but she managed to stop her by using an EMP. Caleb then took a pearl to a backup body, and the two set out to destroy Rehoboam. However, upon arriving at Insight, the AI god revealed its true face and unearthed that Caleb was really Jean-Mi. This plan had been put in place to stop Dolores dead in her tracks just as she reached Rehoboam so that they could upload the forged data directly into the machine. This would grant Rehoboam even more data on human behaviour, and thus it would be able to accurately predict everything. The reveal came as a huge blow to Caleb, who realised he'd been living a lie this entire time. However, Caleb, or rather Jean-Mi, had been given a new perspective. Because he had seen how bad society could be at the bottom, he decided to go against the original plan laid out by his brother, and he joined Dolores in a mission to save humanity. He freed her from the machine, and thus unknowingly doomed humanity to its fate, fulfilling the prophecy that Rehoboam had laid out. I don't know why, but in time travel stuff and things that involve predictions, I always love when people try to prevent the future from happening, and in the end, they're the ones that cause it. I would have loved to have seen this in the show, just to show how accurate Rehoboam's prediction really was, and I think for me personally, it would have led to a more satisfying ending. Anyway, realizing that his brother was dead and that their plan was folly, he ordered Rehoboam to shut down the hologram of Serac. Dolores said that he'd save the world and that he'd stop Rehoboam from gaining the data just in time, and that he truly was the saviour of humanity. She promised that using the data that only she had access to, they could plot out a strategy that would allow hosts and humans to live together. This too, however, was all a ruse, and it was revealed to us that Dolores did not actually have the data. She had hidden it within Bernard, who'd been given a device that was able to access the forge. This would also put him into hibernation so that he could wait out the end of the world, though he would not know this before donning it. She had kept the key to all of this hidden away and had used Jean-Mi as a pawn. Though everything didn't go according to plan and the Jean-Mi reveal was surprising to her too, in the end she had got what she wanted. But what should they do now? After all, they have this machine that can control humanity. Well, this is where the fifth and final Dolores Pearl comes into play. Throughout the season, we saw that Dolores' plan was to replace high-ranking members of society with duplicates, and this was carried out on a number of levels. It was so ingrained into her that even Hale carried this out on the Man in Black. Now, in our little imagining, I would have loved to have had the season end with Dolores revealing that her final duplicate was actually Serac. Before the events of Season 3, Serac had hidden away from society purely because he no longer existed. However, Dolores' plan forced the hologram to emerge and acquire Delos, thus people now knew of the character, though they did not realise he was a hologram. Dolores brought forth her final pearl to assume the position of the owner of Delos. She would now use him as the face that she showed the world, similar to how Rehoboam had used him as its face. This would mean that Dolores was now the one secretly controlling Delos from the shadows, and she'd come full circle from being a slave at the bottom within the park to now being the company's ruler. Using Caleb as a pawn, she'd set out on a path to destroy humanity and had managed to achieve her goal. I would have loved if the season had have ended with us knowing that she really was the villain, and the tension would come from wondering whether Caleb would discover this in any future seasons. Thus, we would end not knowing whether humanity was really doomed, or whether there was a way to stop Dolores, a host that now controlled Delos, and the machine that ruled over the species. I know it's very nihilistic, and probably not as nice as the slightly more positive ending that we got, but hey, I guess I'm a bad guy too, and they've got 3 more seasons to work this all out. in my imagining anyway. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on our video and if you would have liked to have seen it or not. I'm expecting people to just say this is crappy fanfiction, so if you have your own ideas on what you would have liked to have seen in the ending, then make sure you leave them in the comments section below. If you want to see our breakdown of what really happened in the final episode, then make sure you check out our video on it, which is going to be linked at the end. If you want to support the channel from as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button below. We massively appreciate it, and as a thank you get access to content early. If you want to come chat to us after the show, either follow us at DefinitionYT or click the Discord link in the description below. Every month we give away free movies to people who are subscribed to the channel, and this month you can win the Marvel Phase 3 Part 1 box set, and all you have to do is comment on a video and make sure you sub with notifications on. The more videos you comment on, the more you have a chance of winning, so make sure you get involved. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 15th of May, and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. This is a channel for people who are never missing television, so if that's the kind of thing you like, you need to subscribe to Definition. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.